Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. InfoWarsStore.com.
My brother was building a security apparatus to keep us safe, and I'm proud of what he did. And he's had the gall to go after
the World Trade Center came down during your brother's reign.
Remember
that.
Hold on. Let me finish this.
I was wondering, would you be in favor of seeing the 28 pages that have been redacted from the 9/11 Commission report? Would you be wanting to see those released?
Yeah, I'd like to see them. You got them?
Well,
Andrea may have them.
Hopefully we can get them. Thank you.
Well, that's right, Jeb Bush. We all want to see the 28 pages. And you know what? You're not going to be able to make a mockery of it very soon, because it's not just Alex Jones radio show listeners who would like to see this report declassified. Lawmakers are also now calling on the White House to declassify more than 24 pages of the 9/11 Commission. And as well, 60 Minutes is getting in on the truther movement. Joining me now is David Knight. So David, what do we think about this? 9/11 is not going away.
Yeah, Leanne, it's, I guess, better late than never that CBS would cover it. And we're going to talk about what they did this weekend in terms of looking at the missing 28 pages, as well as many of the members of the 9/11 Commission who said this should never have been classified. We want this information out there. Before we do, though, I want to cover what just happened yesterday. We had Donald Trump go to the 9/11 Museum and donate $100,000, and he used it as a moment to troll Ted Cruz on Ted Cruz's famous New York values comment. When he gave the donation, he said, "This is what New York values are really about." And of course, that's a reference to what happened during the debate when Ted Cruz said New York values, when he talked about Donald Trump. He said, "Hey, he's got New York values." Ted Cruz came back and said, "No, what I'm talking about is the state's socially and politically liberal leanings." But Trump has publicly stated Cruz represents Texas and he has a hatred for New York. So that's the way he's playing it. But I want to go back to the 9/11 Commission and the classified 28 pages. This all came out. Not only did they have the exchange that you just saw where he's saying, your brother didn't keep us safe. We had the Twin Towers come down during his reign. And of course, Jeb says, yeah, you got these papers, being very sarcastic about it. But here's what really set people off. They started calling Donald Trump a truther when in a South Carolina town hall, he made these comments.
It wasn't the Iraqis that knocked down the World Trade Center. We went after Iraq. We decimated the country. Iran's taken over. Okay. But it wasn't the Iraqis. You will find out who really knocked down the World Trade Center because they have papers in there that are very secret. You may find it's the Saudis. Okay?
Okay, Donald Trump said, you're going to find out who really knocked down the World Trade Center. It wasn't the Iraqis that you staged this Iraq war with. No, you're going to find out it was the Saudis. And because he said that, National Review said this. They said, it makes perfect sense that Donald Trump is a 9/11 truther. Oh, okay. You know, a truther, a conspiracy theorist. This is how they opened up the article. Look at this. In South Carolina, Donald Trump turned into an Alex Jones show caller. Well, he's in good company because you know what? Like all of our Alex Jones callers, you know what's happening. Just like Senator Bob Graham, who was the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who was on the 9/11 Commission. You also know, like Steve Kroft at 60 Minutes, Senator Bob Kerrey, John Lehman, who was the Reagan administration Secretary of the Navy. They were all on the 9/11 Commission. And just like Alex Jones listeners, they want these pages released as well. Let's listen to what Senator Bob Graham said on the 60 Minutes interview.
I think it is implausible to believe that 19 people, most of whom didn't speak English, most of whom had never been in the United States before, many of whom didn't have a high school education, could have carried out such a complicated task without some support from within the United States.
And you believe that the 28 pages are crucial to this?
I think they are a key part.
I remain deeply disturbed by the amount of material that has been censored from this report.
Okay, so Leanne, that was the middle of February that Donald Trump made those comments in town hall. And then they come out and say on National Review, he sounds like an Alex Jones caller. Okay, here we are 2 months later. And that clip that you just saw, that was former Senator Bob Graham, who was the Senate Intelligence Committee chair, the Select Intelligence Committee chair. And he is saying it's implausible that these guys who don't know anything could have done this without help in the United States. Of course they need help in the United States. Now, Where is this leading? First of all, they said, and they had a lot of major thrust of this 60 Minutes report was, why is this being covered up? And they say, well, we don't know. We asked them, tell us why. And they said, it's classified because we say so. And so they have Porter Goss, who later became head of the CIA. And he said, I don't understand why this is classified. Bob Graham says he's deeply disturbed by the amount of information that's been censored from this report. And Steve Kroft of 60 Minutes says this to him. He says, you believe the support that these guys had came from Saudi Arabia? And he says, substantially. And when we say the Saudis, Kroft says, you mean the government? And Bob Graham says, I mean, and Kroft goes on, the rich people in the country, charities? He said, all of the above. And then they point out, CBS says, Graham and others believe the Saudi role has been soft-pedaled to protect a delicate relationship with a complicated kingdom. It's complicated, you know. They just cut people's heads off. They're complicated.
It's complicated.
All right. Look, they also point out, in the CBS article, Saudi Arabia's biggest exports are oil and Wahhabism.
Right.
We had a caller who called us during one of the debates. And he says, look, I'm a Muslim. I support Donald Trump because I, too, am concerned about the open borders. He said, as a Muslim, I don't want to see the Wahhabists coming in. Other Muslims are afraid of the Wahhabism that is sold in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Why do we protect these people in this quote-unquote complicated relationship? Yeah, it's complicated, okay? And so they go on and they talk about this, and the facts of this, or they have some meetings that were made. They talk about some revelations that about meetings that were done in L.A., a guy who is at the Saudi Arabia embassy, then he meets with some of these people who were involved in the hijackers and so forth and so on. Look, it's not that complicated. Saudi Arabia has a very deep relationship with the United States. Prince Bandar, the Saudi Intelligence Committee previously, as well as the CIA, they have been joined at the hip. You can't tell where the CIA ends and the Saudi intelligence community begins. We have a relationship that is very important to our finances here. Okay, you have to understand that when the gold backing of the United States dollar, which the United States dollar was the world's reserve currency after World War II, once the European and Western allies and the rest of the world started to realize that, hey, we're not backing our money with any real gold, then confidence collapsed. They had to come up with something else. So they did Bretton Woods II. They took us off the gold standard. Nixon and Kissinger worked a deal with Saudi Arabia whereby we would establish the petrodollar. The petrodollar, working with Saudi Arabia, denominating all of the oil sales in U.S. dollars, that has been the foundation, what we call the petrodollar. That has made the U.S. currency the world currency. So they're very reluctant to show any connection with the Saudis, anything that would make them look bad. Now, as they're talking about in these 28 pages, it's going to expose a lot of Saudi government connections with this, just as Donald Trump said. Donald Trump isn't going anywhere with this in terms of being a truther or conspiracy theorist. He's not going anywhere that CBS and these former senators, former Secretary of the Navy that they talked to are talking about here. They said, hey, we've been around, we've seen this kind of stuff, this really should be exposed. But people need to start looking at the rest of the story as well. The Common Core math of 2 planes taking down 3 buildings. Does that make any sense to you? It's absolute nonsense. But when we put this out, what does the Saudi Arabian embassy come back with? What do they say?
It's essentially a myth.
It's a myth. The Saudi Arabian embassy.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a myth.
Because conspiracy theory, I think that is a trademark slogan of the CIA and the FBI to basically shut down anybody that wants to question their conspiracy theory. Understand, they've sold us a conspiracy theory. It's a phony conspiracy theory. It doesn't match the facts. But if you question that, they will call it, as the Saudis did, a myth.
Right. Well, it's not a myth, the Bush ties to the bin Laden family, or the fact that the bin Laden family was flown out of the country immediately following 9/11. That's not a myth. And we're seeing how complicit the media is in covering up for the establishment players. And just like with this, now, 14 years later, still trying to cover up this story. They're all going to be found complicit.
No one wants to look and question any of the facts. And if you question it, it's all been settled. This is just a myth. It's just a theory. It's a conspiracy theory. Shut up and listen to us. No matter what pilots for 9/11 Truth say, no matter what engineers and architects for 9/11 Truth say, just shut up and accept it. You're not supposed to look at it. Well, we are going to get that information, and we are going to find out this dirty secret about this dangerous regime, Saudi Arabia, that has been so intricately linked with both Republicans and Democrats. That's one of the reasons they hate Donald Trump and want to shut him down.
Who are you working for, brother?
Same people.
What do you mean, same people?
Infowars.com.
Infowars.com? I've never heard of it. Is it like a very powerful group?
Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.